Hello and welcome to Breathwork and Lymphatic Wellness. This is the first in a 10-part series where we are going to practice breathwork. We're going to learn about the science behind breathwork and how it affects the lymphatic system. So let's get started. My name is Kathleen Helen. Listen, I am a lymphedema therapist. I'm board certified in therapeutic massage and body work. I'm also a health coach and a yoga teacher. And I'm the author of the books Stress Reduction for Lymphedema and Mindful Strategies for Adults with Adverse Childhood Experiences. So what are we going to explore in class today? We're going to learn about the connection between breathing and the lymphatic system. We're going to experience how posture affects breathing, and we are going to begin making friends with our breath. And that's what I want us to do both today and in this 10-part series. And understanding first, taking a moment to think about what it feels like, what it actually means to make friends with our breath. So it doesn't mean we're going to learn how to control our breath so we can make it do things for us. That's not what a friend is. I want us to come into this series with curiosity and with a beginner's mind, and with the sense that we want to learn more about the breath before kind of like trying to bend it to our will and make it do what we want and make it be the most effective breath we can, and kind of put a lot of our ego on it and put a lot of kind of like deadlines on it and pressure on it. Instead of putting pressure on it, I would like us to just make a new friend today and learn more about our new friend, and that friend is our breath. So we'll start this class and every class with a mindful moment. So I'll encourage you to take a position that is respectful and yet comfortable. So that may mean sitting or lying down with relatively straight spine. Your eyes can be open or they can be closed. Your hands can be on your thighs, on your knees, wherever is comfortable. And I'll invite you to take just a few moments here and some nurturing breaths. And bring to mind what inspired you to press play on this video. Why did you want to learn more about the breath and the lymphatic system? And what did you think about when we kind of went over what we're going to do today? The breath and the posture, the link between the breath and lymphatic system. What are some thoughts that you had? Is there something that you already know about this? What are your biggest questions that you want to have answered? And when I made kind of a big deal right away about the fact that we're befriending our breath instead of forcing it to do our will, how did that make you feel? And is it okay in this moment to make friends with your body? Okay, so we'll begin by doing a minute of deeper breathing. It's called 5-5 breathing. So we'll inhale for the count of 5, we'll exhale for the count of 5. We'll do it for about a minute. So that's about 6 breaths total. I'll keep the time and guide you when to inhale and exhale. Your eyes can be open or closed, whatever is more comfortable for you in this moment. And I'll encourage you to start with a nice exhale. And inhale, exhale. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And last, inhale and last exhale. And we can let that breath work go for a moment, and then I'll invite you to join me for a little bit of movement, a movement practice. And this comes to us from yoga. It's just some gentle movement of the neck and shoulders. So we'll start with the head in a neutral position, and then inhale as we look up. Exhale as we look down. Inhale as we look up. Exhale as we look down. Last inhale, looking up. And last exhale, looking down. Return your head to a neutral position, and then inhale and look to your left. Exhale and look to your right. Inhale to the left. Exhale to the right. Inhale to the left. And exhale to the right. Return your head in a neutral position. And now we'll take the ear to the same shoulder. So we'll start with the left ear towards the left shoulder. Right ear to the right shoulder. Left ear to the left shoulder. Right ear to the right shoulder. Last time, left ear to the left shoulder. And right ear to the right shoulder. Return your head to a neutral position. Now place the hands on the shoulders and let's do some shoulder roll, shoulder range of motion, coming up, back, and down. Really bringing a beginner's mind to today's movement practice. How much is our range of motion today? How does it feel to be moving our shoulders in this way? One last time in this direction, and then move in the other direction. Shoulder roll, really moving the entire shoulder area. And one more roll up and down, and then release that. Your hands can be on your thighs if you'd like. You can open your eyes, and we will go over just some basic information kind of to get us excited about learning about breathing. So did you know that the average person takes about 21,000 breaths a day? That's just crazy to me. And that's because the average person takes about 15 breaths a minute. But they have seen that becoming aware of our breathing can lower it to about 6 breaths a minute, which is what we did in our 5-5 breathing. But normally we would breathe at least twice as many times per minute. And the main muscle of breathing is the diaphragm. So here is the diaphragm in red. It is a muscle that comes, you'll see it's by the rib cage, both the front of the rib cage and those floating ribs in the back. It also is by the spine, and it helps to inflate the lungs. When the diaphragm is working, it moves so that the lungs can inflate. And this is what we want to happen. And the body knows that we're supposed to use the diaphragm to breathe. So the body, in its intelligence, lets the breathing take care of some of the other systems, particularly the lymphatic system. The body is placed about 60% of all lymph nodes are found right beneath the diaphragm. And they're doing their job, and they are being affected when we are breathing using our diaphragm. And let's look at how breathing should happen. So this is a great image. We'll come back to this image in later classes. But as we inhale, the diaphragm should contract and move downwards. The muscles should contract and move the ribs outwards. And then that means the contents of our stomach, our abdomen, should gently move out. And then as we exhale, the diaphragm relaxes and moves upwards. The muscles also relax and they move the ribs inwards. So this doesn't happen to all people. And if you are a lymphatic therapist, a lymphedema therapist like I am, I noticed this only when I first started helping people with lymphedema, and I would do the deep abdominal breathing sequence that we learned in our CLT class. And I saw that a significant percentage of my clients, they would suck their stomachs in as they inhaled and then push their stomachs out as they exhaled. And that is not using the diaphragm correctly and naturally. So the natural way to inhale is the diaphragm contracts, moves downwards. There's more room in the thoracic cavity, so the air comes in because there's more room. And then because the diaphragm is moving downwards at the inhalation is when our abdomen should gently expand. So studies indicate that following standardized deep breathing, there is a notable immediate reduction in limb volume and edema percentage persisting for at least 30 minutes. So this is a great way to describe the connection between standardized deep breathing with the diaphragm and how the lymphatic system is positively affected. Diaphragmatic breathing enhances respiratory muscle strength, endurance, and coordination. It improves chest mobility. It fortifies thoracic negative pressure capacity, so it helps the capacity, and it fosters deep blood and lymph circulation, which thus enhances lymphatic flow. And this is so valuable that in 2020, the International Society of Lymphology's consensus statement underscored the significance of integrating deep breathing training into self-management strategies for breast cancer-related lymphedema. So let's look at the difference between breathing and breath work, because we're breathing all the time, even when we sleep, even when we're not conscious. So there's a difference between just naturally breathing and intentionally doing breath work. So breath work is breathing and we're paying attention to it. Breath work is breath plus we are aware that we are breathing. So most of the time when we're focused on other things, we may not even be aware that we're breathing. So that wouldn't be a time when we're doing breath work. And breath work is, as we will practice with many different types of pranayama type breathing that come to us from the yoga tradition, breath work is an intentional change to breathing. So we're breathing in a specific way. So that's what makes breath work different from just breathing that our body does by itself. And it's important also to know that pranayama, when we talk about pranayama is more than just breath work. It's more than just doing breathing in a certain way. It has a deeper function and deeper belief system around it. It comes to us from the practice of yoga. So as we're making friends with the breath, which is what we want to do in these first couple episodes of these classes, is let's take a look at our breath, a friendly look at our breath. And just think to ourselves as we ask ourselves these questions. Can you hear yourself breathe? Are you usually able to hear your breathing, or is your breathing silent? When you are breathing and at rest or doing quiet activities, are you breathing through your mouth? Or are you mostly breathing in and out through the nose? Do you find that your nose gets stuffed up? Are you always having that Kleenex box nearby because you find that you're blowing your nose or it's always stuffy? Do you find yourself sighing or yawning on a regular basis? And do you snore? And these questions, not only is it valuable for us to ask them, but it's also valuable to have a conversation with the person that we love, that we live with, that might be able to tell us whether we snore because they're with us when we're asleep. And because many people don't know that they snore because they're asleep while they're snoring. And this happened to me before I had mouth tape, and I taped my mouth shut and breathe through my nose at night. My husband said I would always snore. And before I had a rhinoplasty that fixed a deviated septum, a breathing issue that I had, I would have a lot more difficulty with breathing. And that's another thing to think about is not all of us are able to breathe comfortably through both of our nostrils. I had a rhinoplasty that really helped me improve my breathing, but not everyone is able to go and get their deviated septum taken care of, get their issues inside the nose with their breathing taken care of. So that may be another thing that is personal to us and our way of breathing. So let's look at how posture affects the breath. So ideally, we like to have a straight spine, which is why I said before we come into meditation, a position of respect, which is usually a respectful position is with a straight spine, not, slouching and like we're paying attention and interacting in a positive way with what we're learning. And then also a position of comfort. In that position usually affects the breath in a positive way because we have to have adequate area for our rib cage to expand, for our abdomen to kind of move the contents of our abdomen as our thoracic part of our body is expanding as the breath is coming in. And just taking a quick look at how posture affects the breath. If you're hunched over on the phone, your legs are crossed, or you're kind of scrunched up in a ball, it's harder to breathe. It's harder to take that deeper breath. So the research says that forward head posture can also indicate the presence of a short, flat diaphragm and weak abdominals due to the fact that positioning the head in front of the body increases the resting length of the diaphragm. So having that position of like always looking down, always having a forward head posture can also affect our breathing and affect the way our muscles are able to help us breathe effectively. And like I said before, look at the difference in posture and your breath. Take the position of looking down at your phone and then try to take that deep breath. Kind of see how it is right now. And it's harder for me to take that full deep breath. But if I sit with my spine lifted, my legs are crossed, I see my legs right now, kind of opening up the area and hands at my knees. And then I'm breathing now. I can feel how my body is put in the right position to really breathe effectively. So let's talk about the million-dollar question, the breath, the connection between the breath and the lymphatic system. So I'm a lymphedema therapist. This is why I am interested in the breath. So let's get a little sciencey here. We're going to be talking about the two main chambers that we're going to be looking at in the torso. Is going to be the upper one is the thoracic. We know this from our anatomy. This is our thoracic spine, and then the lower one is the abdominal, where the contents of the abdomen are. That's the abdominal category of our body. And it's the differentials. It's the diaphragm moving up and down in between these two these two parts of the body that is really showing us once again the wisdom of the body, how the body knows that it has to breathe, but it's going to use this act of breathing, this act of the chambers getting bigger and larger and moving in different places to have other parts of our body work more effectively when we're breathing more effectively. So Courtney, 2009 says, the pressure differentials created by respiration create fluctuations in central venous pressure. So it's the respiratory system is now affecting our circulatory system. So the pressure differentials by respiration are creating fluctuations in central venous pressure, and that directly affects lymph drainage from the lungs and abdomen, affects transmural pressure in the lymphatic vessels, which modulates the function of intrinsic pacemakers in the lymphatic system. So the breathing affects the venous pressure, and then in the circulatory system, which then affects our lymphatic system. And I love this, modulates the function of intrinsic pacemakers in our lymphatic system. So our breathing, the pressure differentials, when we breathe and move pressures around with our breathing, it's affecting the lymphatic system and the pacemakers in the lymphatic system. And I kind of think about it as this beautiful tango. And if you've ever seen the dancing of the tango, it's like the man and the woman do this dance where they're going back and forth and they're kind of moving and they're using like the frame. You can see when I did swing dancing, they would always like talk about the frame, and it's the man is supporting the woman, as in this particular moment of the dance. You can see how he is supporting her and he is moving her, and she's allowing herself to be moved. And it looks like from this picture, she's having a lot of fun with it, getting dipped. So these are the visual representation of the two chambers we're talking about, the two cavities. So in blue, the thoracic cavity, and in orange, the abdominal cavity. And you can see that as we inhale, you can see that thoracic cavity has, that diaphragm is going to get flatter. The thoracic cavity is going to increase, so the air will come in, and that is going to move the contents of the abdominal cavity out. So the abdominal cavity is going to stay the same. Mass-wise, it's just going to move out, while the thoracic cavity gets bigger and smaller according to the inhale or the exhale. So during breathing, there's a change in the thorax and abdominal ground reaction forces. During breathing, changes in the thorax and abdominal pressures, like we just saw, create a respiratory pump. And during inspiration, the diaphragm moves downward, which decreases pressure in the thoracic body cavity. So the pressure is decreased so air can come in. It increases the pressure in the abdomen. It's kind of pushing down on the abdomen, saying, hey, we need some room here. And that motion results in blood being pulled towards the lower chest cavity. And this action provides a pump effect on the lymphatics. It helps to mobilize fluid, given that the thoracic duct, that largest lymph vessel in the body, is stimulated through the breathing cycle. And we know that the thoracic duct bifurcates the diaphragm. It goes right through the diaphragm. So it is affected, it is stimulated during the breathing cycle. So this is powerful. If you didn't already have to breathe to survive, as a lymphedema therapist, I would recommend you breathe because of the amazing effects it has on our lymphatic system. And what is in the abdominal cavity, just so you can see, here's our digestive system, and you can see that so many of these organs are in that abdominal cavity. So many of these organs are getting moved with the diaphragmatic breathing. They're moving, which is helping their lymph nodes that help them to clear out the lymphatic fluid. So we want these all these organs to be gently moved every time we're breathing. So by exerting a negative pressure and drawing the lymph through the lymphatic system, diaphragmatic breathing promotes the cleaning of the lymph nodes. So how do you breathe with your diaphragm? That is a very good question, especially we, as the lymphedema therapist, we've had to teach people, hey, here is how to breathe correctly. And I think when you see the babies at birth, we all know how to breathe correctly. Imagine if you ever get to see a baby and they're breathing gently on their back, you'll see that abdomen will gently rise and fall as they are breathing. But the the folklore around it is sometime when we're 5 or 6 or 7 on the playground, we're breathing naturally, our belly is going in and out, and someone points at us and says, oh, you have a big belly. And then that becomes, starts our social conditioning where we want to hold our tummy flat. We want our tummy to be as small as possible. We don't want to have, like a big belly that comes in and out when we naturally breathe. And then our clothing gets tighter as we get older, and we really don't like to see that as an adult, someone just naturally breathing. So we have to train ourselves how to breathe again. And training our children or adults, I usually start by having them lie on their back, and then we'll place something on the abdomen that they can see that it should rise as they inhale and it should fall as they exhale. So you can try a teddy bear on the abdomen. You can try a heavy book, and then you'll get to feel that feeling of the book's weight, and then your abdomen kind of pushing against the weight of the book. Or if you have packaged foods, there's some wonderful lentils here, or rice. Anything that weighs a few pounds can also be used just as that weight, just as like a sensory reminder that the abdomen should move when we're breathing. So we're not purposefully pushing it out with any abdominal muscles. It's just gently moving up and down because our diaphragm is being used. So what about breathing and lymphedema? Breathing is an important aspect of both yoga and lymphedema management. Slow, deep breathing with breath retention will create pressure changes to empty the lymphatic system into the venous system at the exit points of the right lymphatic duct and the thoracic duct. And it's interesting that a lot of the pranayama that we see is indeed slow, deep breathing with breath retention. And let's look at inhalation, the power of inhalation. During inhalation, there's a lower pressure in the intra-thoracic area compared with the abdominal area, which causes lymph and venous blood to flow from the abdominal area into the thoracic area. So every time we inhale, our blood is flowing, and so is our lymph. And then during exhalation, there's a rise in pressure in the intrathoracic area, leading to the lymph flowing into the venous system at the exit points of the right lymphatic duct and the thoracic duct near the medial collarbones. So during exhalation, the lymph flows into the venous system. We've completed our job as a lymphatic system, delivering the swelling. We picked up from each and every cell in the body, all the waste products picked up from each and every cell in the body. Now we're finally at our victory. We've crossed the finish line. The lymphatic is flowing into the venous system. What about kumbhaka and chanting? So kumbhaka is the word for the breath hold that we saw was valuable a few slides ago. A pause after both the inhalation and the exhalation, as used in yoga, and it's called kumbhaka, will ensure optimal pressure change at an even rate. So this is a great idea on whether you should explore pranayama or different types of breathing that also have breath holds. And Loudon et al. Also said a greater pressure difference is created when the exhalation is accompanied by an abdominal contraction. So if you sing like this lovely lady is doing and you really hold that note, you're seeing as you're getting all the air out, you're doing a little abdominal contraction to get that all the air that you can to make that note last as long as it possibly can, which also occurs when you do long, slow chanting. So our tortoise friend here recommends slow. Slow is the lifestyle, and they are our representative for slow breathing. And so Loudon et al. Shares the long, slow breath may improve the elasticity of the secondary muscles of inhalation, such as serratus anterior, pectoralis major, pec minor, that can be impaired from surgery and radiation in breast cancer treatment. Fibrous tissue may also be softened by slow breathing. So if you know anybody, if you have a friend, a family, a loved one, yourself, your clients that you help have this surgery and radiation that has this fibrous tissue, know that if they're inhaling slowly, maybe even holding the breath, exhaling slowly, that is going to slowly stretch these muscles that may be affected, this fibrous tissue that may be affected by radiation. And so this long, slow breath work, this pranayama breath work, and long, slow diaphragmatic breathing may also help their fibrosis. So I'll invite you to get comfortable now because I want to go through a guided breath awareness. So this is going to take a few minutes and it's going to be you really getting curious about your own breath. This is how we are going to make friends with our breath by asking questions and thinking about the answers. So get comfortable if that means lying down, just coming into a respectful yet comfortable position, and you can close your eyes, you can leave them open, and the questions I ask will be on the screen. So I'll invite you to take a few natural breaths, and in this moment with us, become aware that you are breathing. And notice the inhalation, the exhalation, and if there are any pauses in your natural breath. What does the inhalation feel like? And what seems to initiate the inhalation? Where do you feel your breath? Where in your body can you feel the breath? Can you feel the breath at your nostrils? Can you feel it in your rib cage? Can you feel it in the abdomen? Do your shoulders move when you breathe? And this could be a very, very tiny, subtle movement. But can you feel any shoulder movement? And you feel your hips move when you breathe. And you feel your spine, your lumbar spine move when you breathe. What do you feel when you're completely full of breath? Is there a pause before the exhalation starts? What do you feel when you're empty of breath? And how long does that pause last? Does your breath seem short or long to you? Does it feel deep or shallow? Is it quiet or does it have a sound? Does it seem easy to breathe? Or does it seem like there's a laboring or an effort required? Are there any differences in length of inhalation and exhalation? Do you find that the inhale is longer or is the exhale longer? And know that simply becoming aware of the breath is going to naturally alter it. And just make a mental note of the changes that you observe. And I hope this was a really nourishing practice to take a few minutes and really be curious with a beginner's mind about our breath. You can open your eyes if you'd like, but we're going straight into our mindful moment because we're at the end of class number 1. And in the beginning and at the end of the classes, we take a mindful moment. So if you'd like to keep your eyes shut them or open them, whatever is comfortable for you. And remember to be in that position of dignity and comfort. And just take a moment to mentally recap what we learned today in class. There was a lot of science there about how we physically breathe, how our body physically gets the breath in and out, actually affects so many more systems than just getting the oxygen in and getting the carbon dioxide out. Our body uses the breath to impact the venous system, definitely uses it to impact our lymphatic system. And we will learn so much more about that in the next 9 classes. I'm so excited for you to join me then. We also thought about our own individual breath, how our body and the way we move our body, place our body, can affect how deep and full our breathing is. The way our culture has raised us and molded us may affect the way that we breathe and may be different than how we were naturally made to breathe. So I'll encourage you to take a few natural breaths here and think about everything that we've learned. What is one thing that you're really curious about that we talked about today, or you learned from paying attention to your body today? What is one thing about your own breath and the way that you breathe that you noticed today? What are you excited to learn about in the upcoming classes? Did you know all the benefits that the slow, deep breathing has on both the lymphatic system and for people with lymphedema, the fibrosis? So I'll encourage you, as I encourage in every class, this is a YouTube video, so you can leave comments underneath the video and share with everybody else things that you learned about yourself today, things that you want to know about in future classes, research that you have read that you want to share with us on the importance of breath work and the lymphatic system. We'd love to hear about it in the comments. And then read the other comments. You can see what other students in this class want to share with you. So as we did in the beginning, and we will also close now with the 5-5 breathing. So 1 minute of breathing. We'll inhale for the count of 5, exhale for the count of 5. Do it for about a minute. I'll keep the time for us and guide our inhales and exhales. And we'll start with a nice exhale. And then inhale. And exhale. 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 Last inhale. And last exhale. Can let that breathing practice go. And I'm excited to tell you that, yes, you can find the free 10-session breathwork and lymphatic wellness class here on my YouTube channel. All the videos are free. They will always be here for you to listen to. You can watch each one as many times. We'll definitely be going into a lot of breathwork practice, so we'll get a lot of breathwork practice, plus way more science, way more published literature on protocols and what this breathwork is shown to do, especially in people who have lymphedema or a cancer history. I'm so excited to share all this information with you and hopefully get you excited about incorporating breathwork into your self-care practice. And here are our resources for today. Thank you so much, and I look forward to reading all your comments on the YouTube video and seeing you in the future classes. Have a great